you're seeing automakers make a big push to, particularly in the US, try to go direct to the consumer and essentially sell around dealerships. And that's a big deal. So when we look at Carvana's business, which we just spoke about, Carvana is now a top 10 US retailer by e-commerce sales. It'll be the 8th largest US retailer by online sales, passing Best Buy and Costco. I mean, they have a little bit of an unfair advantage because they're selling, their average order size is so big, but still a testament to this kind of digitization of buying and selling cars. It's all kind of building on this trend of these automakers and OEMs looking also at Tesla saying, hey, I want to sell direct. There's a report here. Auto industry leaders fully expect a major shift in retailing. Auto industry executives foresee a major shift to online auto sales by 2030, with a steep rise in automaker direct-to-consumer sales. This is really speaking to, the US, maybe European markets, as opposed to, say, more emerging markets like Latin America. But you can still, you can see where this is headed over the next number of years here in the US. The situation, with COVID and the supply chain woes and just insane demand, shortage of supply is further exacerbating this issue. And you're seeing now many dealers adding additional money on top of MSRP. And so there's an article just in the Wall Street Journal in the past couple of weeks saying Ford and GM warned dealers to stop charging so much for new cars. Automakers are trying to curb the practice of adding fees to the suggested retail price, saying the tactic could cost dealerships future vehicle inventory. So the automakers are not happy about dealers adding dollars on top of MSRP. But at the same time, are these automakers really looking at the situation fairly, Nick? Because, the dealers aren't getting the same levels of inventory that they used to be getting, right? So if the dealers aren't getting as much inventory to sell, and then the automakers are saying, well, you can't raise your prices, isn't there some kind of rub here? Should the automakers be as critical of the dealers as they are being?
It's an interesting tension here. I think the automakers are saying, look, you're hurting our brand long term. Customers are complaining to us. They're unhappy that they think you're price gouging them because no time in recent memory have consumers had to pay above sticker price. They're used to paying below that because they've got promotions and deals. Now the environment is flipped because of the semiconductor shortage where there's not enough new vehicles. Demand has outstripped supply. So the auto dealers are saying, well, what do you expect us to do? We've got 10 people that wants this one car. Of course, I'm going to sell it to the one that'll give me an extra, $2,000, or will also take financing because that's going to make me, an extra, X amount of dollars on the commission from the financing, which is another thing they talk about is, some dealers saying we won't give up the financing commission. So if you want to buy the car, you can't buy it cash. From the automaker perspective, that's not a good user experience. The automakers increasingly want to have this direct relationship with customers. You see them all launching their apps, their digital services. Automakers are unhappy because it's hurting their brand. Dealers are saying, well, this is just supply and demand. There's a shortage here. And I'm not going to give up margin because I've got to make up on margin what I'm not going to get on volume because I don't have as many cars. You, automaker, aren't giving me as many cars, so this is your fault. But I think that the tension ultimately is it's hurting the automaker's brand because at the end of the day, they're not associating it with, you local dealer. They're associating it with you, Ford or GM. That's who the customers are really complaining to. So I think this is something that may inadvertently start to push more and more OEMs to seriously say, well, let's just go direct. We can control these things ourselves in an online environment where sales are increasingly shifting to. You lose the local advantage. The advantage the dealer has is, I'm down the street. So if you want to buy a car, you don't have to go across the state to get to me. But if I can pick out my car, direct orders from the OEM, the automaker, are increasing. So meaning rather than picking up what's on the lot, you're ordering it, directly, and you can pick out all the features you want, and then it gets, made and shipped. So I think that's increasing, and you're seeing a lot more OEMs just start to see the logic of, in an online world, only thing I really need the dealer for at best is just pickup of the vehicle, drop off of the vehicle. And if I'm a dealer, that role in the value chain isn't really going to support my cost structure long term. So, you're seeing a big shift. And I think this is a symptom of this tension that we're seeing play out between OEMs wanting to go direct and dealers trying to maintain their position and saying, well, what do you expect me to do? You're not giving me enough cars.
And I mean, to be fair, the dealers have already been squeezed on making any money from selling of new cars. And so for years, they've shifted their business model over to make money on the servicing, right? So is this just a continuation of like just another step in the chain of them losing, the selling of new cars as a source of value? Seems like it. Seems like it's being accelerated or could be accelerated by these kinds of activities prompted by this, supply chain shortage and issues. But yeah, I mean, if you're not selling new cars at all in 20 years, let's say, that will, and that will fundamentally change what that dealership business model is. It's going to be a lot of change for dealerships. I think the ones in the US and more industrialized nations are going to be dealing with this first, but in the interim, a lot of opportunity in the car market, right? Where these threats exist, also lies a lot of opportunity. So it'll be very interesting to see how it all plays out. And used cars is an area where we're clearly seeing a lot of opportunity, a lot of fragmentation, fits that marketplace business model, but also have many examples of linear companies doing quite well there as well.
Yeah, I think the OEMs see that too. You had GM just last month announced that they're going to launch their own car marketplace for used cars called Car Bravo, helping them compete with Carvanas and Vrooms of the world. So that's it's going to include dealers in the way they've announced it. But if I'm an OEM and I'm establishing a direct digital relationship, that's a red line that if I'm putting my dealer hat on, that I'm not thrilled to see OEMs crossing increasingly.